Good afternoon, all of you. I hope I'm audible and visible to everybody. Right. So I'm Nikita. I welcome you to this session. You have to target 99 percentile in VARC, right? Because, see, if you maximize your score in one section, that gives you some leeway that even if you attempt moderately well in the other sections, it results in an overall good percentile. So if English happens to be your strength, if you feel that you are good at English, then you should definitely capitalize on this section, right? And that is why we have launched this series. This is the third session of this series. In the first two sessions, we talked about how to go about reading an RC passage so as to grasp its main idea. In the second part, I brought to you odd sentence out parajumbles because I feel that it is a scoring question type and there's no negative marking there. So today, what I have done is I have brought some paragraphs for you, some short paragraphs for you, and together we'll try to grasp their gist. Right? Hello, Radha. Good evening. Oh, good afternoon. Sorry. Right? I'm used to taking sessions in the evening, so that's why. Now, grasping the gist of a paragraph is actually a question type also that is asked from you in the CAT exam. This question type is called para summary. So, what happens here is a short paragraph is given to you, right? So, usually it could be, I mean, the word limit, it will vary, right? So, sometimes it's just 100 words, sometimes it can stretch up to 150 words also. So, usually we have such 100, 150 word paragraphs. You have to read these paragraphs, and then the question asked is which of the following options best captures the essence of the paragraph? Okay, which of the following options best captures the essence of the paragraph? So, in order to capture that essence, of course, you have to read the paragraph carefully. You have to identify its key points. Then only you'll be able to understand the essence. So, essentially, this question is a para summary question, right? Three questions from this area are asked in your CAT exam. I will show you some questions from CAT 2021 also today, those that were asked just last year, right? And we'll see what the level of the questions is, how to tackle them, what should be your strategy, how can you prepare for such questions from now on. All of that we'll see today. Okay, but before that, a very basic question: what is summary? I want to know what is your understanding of a para summary. Yes. Hello everyone. Anush, Abhishek, Ravi, Sweetie, Shivam, good afternoon. Hello. Yes, tell me what is a para summary? What do you understand by the word summary? Hmm. Para summary is not a question type that is just confined to CAT. Okay, so in that last year, there were questions, there were paragraph based questions. Okay, and in last to last year, so last year there were inference based questions from paragraphs. Last to last year, there were paragraphs given to you, and you had to capture the central idea of those paragraphs, right? In CMAT also, so some of you are preparing for CMAT, right? In CMAT also, last year there was a question wherein the central idea of a paragraph was asked from you. So this is not a question type that is just confined to, let's say, CAT. It can be asked in other exams as well. Okay, so gist. I've got one response that a summary is the gist. Okay, the gist, the crux, right? The theme. So it's known by multiple names. So, one thing that needs to be clarified here is that in a summary, you are not required to draw your own conclusions. You are not inferring there, right? What is it that you're doing? You are simply giving a brief account of the paragraph. Simply a brief account. So, that is a summary. It, of course, it contains the essence, it contains the gist, the crux, the theme that is there. It covers the key points. Yes. So all the key points that are mentioned in the paragraph, you must understand them. So we should read the paragraph in such a way that we understand the key points. And why did I highlight this a brief account? Because I want you to understand that you don't have to, infer, derive something on your own. You just have to state what is given to you in brief words. That's it. And yes, the last point, something that I've been telling you right from the beginning, that a summary is very different from a conclusion. In a conclusion, you read something, process it, and then derive something from it, right? You conclude something from it. In summary, you simply give a brief account of the paragraph. That's it. So I hope this is clear to you. Uh, Anush, yes, so no, summary is not the conclusion. Okay. So you will see this difference. We'll have questions wherein one of the options will say something that is in the nature of conclusion. It's going a step further from the paragraph and helping you to derive something. Whereas there will be one option that will simply state what is mentioned in brief. You have to choose that one which is mentioned in brief. Right? Okay. Now coming to what tricks can the examiner play? So I thought to actually cover this before I come to the question so that you are also conscious of those tricks, right? So, of course, four options will be given to you. Out of these four options, two will be relatively easy, two will be close to each other. So, what all tricks can the examiner play in these questions? So, in one of the options, the examiner will include summary, whereas in the other, the examiner will include a conclusion. So, if let's say you are reading it with that bent of mind that okay, I have to process and derive, you might end up marking this as the answer. Then if let's say the paragraph is about a specific person, okay, so let's say the paragraph is about Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So I am talking about a particular person here, a particular scientist. Yes. From this, if let's say my summary says something about all the scientists out there or about a scientist in general out there, then if my paragraph just sticks to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, I cannot say something in general about scientists from it because that will again become in the nature of conclusion and not in the nature of a summary. So, generalized options are not your answers. Remember that. Fine. Then, the examiner might make a long option wherein, let's say, the first part is in line with what is stated in the paragraph, but the second part adds some information that is not there in the paragraph, some additional information. So, because it is just a summary, is just what is stated in the paragraph in brief, any additional information is discarded. You cannot introduce information on your own in it. So, such options are easy to identify and easy to eliminate. Okay. Then, distorted. It says something that is false as per the paragraph, something uh, which you can directly see that the opposite of it is given in my paragraph. Okay, when you can very easily see that okay, what this option is saying, the opposite of it is there in my paragraph, you can easily eliminate it. So this option is again relatively easy to eliminate. Extreme. So let's say if my paragraph says that power shortage is a big issue in India, right? Whereas my option says power shortage is the biggest problem that India currently faces. So it has just made it extreme, and therefore it cannot be an appropriate summary from big to biggest. That transition happened here, right? So no extreme answer choices can be our summary. Okay, unless of course my paragraph itself said something in the superlative. It said that okay, yes, power shortage is the biggest problem, let's say, then of course the summary can say that, otherwise no. So be on the lookout for words like never, always, superlative degrees of adjectives, right? And these are the things you must be thinking right now, that when I talk to you about the main idea of a passage, if you've attended that session where we discussed how to identify the main idea of a passage, I told you some similar things. That is because we are now applying that same concept at a micro level. There we were dealing with a passage, now we are dealing with a small paragraph. That's it. Okay. So you already know some of these things. Incomplete. What do I mean by that? Okay, it states something from the paragraph, but it doesn't cover all the key points. It doesn't cover the gist completely. It just gives partial information, just gives the partial gist. That is an incomplete option. So again, you have to be careful about this one, because on reading these few words, you will feel okay. Yes, this is the essence, but you have to read the option completely. Is this the complete essence? And have I covered all the points? Right? And lastly, very important, when you always eliminate in these questions, always, because sometimes you might feel that none of the options actually cover all the key points. That can happen. So, in such a case, you have to choose the one that covers the maximum number of key points, right? The maximum number of key ideas. So, that's why elimination works the best here. Okay. Any questions so far? Good afternoon, Vishal, Vipin, Guddu, those who've just joined. Right. So, this is about the tricks that the examiner can play. Now, let's begin with a question. Let's read this together. So, I'll teach you how to read, how to approach a parasummary question, and then let's solve the question. Right? Okay. All humans make decisions based on one or a combination of two factors. Okay, so the introductory sentence, it is telling me that humans make decisions based on one or a combination of two factors. Most likely, the next sentences will actually detail what are those factors, right? Elaborate this. This is either intuition or information. Okay, so what are those factors? Intuition or information. Now, I am underlining this because I think this is important in the paragraph, right? Decisions made through intuition are usually fast. Okay, people don't even think about the problem. They are usually fast, this method. It is quite philosophical, meaning that someone who made a decision based on intuition will have difficulty explaining the reasoning behind it. So somebody who is making a decision based on intuition will have difficulty in explaining the reasoning behind it. The decision maker would often utilize her senses in drawing conclusions, which again is based on some experience in the field of study. So, how are the conclusions drawn? Using their senses and using their experience. So far what I have done is I have identified, okay, yes, this is an important piece of information that the decisions are based on one or a combination of two factors. Then what are those two factors important? Then we start elaborating those two factors. So far we have elaborated on intuition from here till here, right? So intuition, past decisions, difficulty in explaining the rationale behind them, made using senses and experience. Three key points discovered. So when you read the paragraph, read with this focus that you have to identify the role of each and every sentence. Is it just giving me details? For instance, if you look at this, I didn't underline this part. People don't even think about the problem because it's just elaborating fast. Okay, so see what is the role that part, those words are playing. Are they ideas, are they key ideas, or are they just details? So I filter the details, I take the details, grasp the details, and I filter the ideas, grasp the ideas, and leave out the details as such. Okay, now coming to the next part. On the other side of the spectrum, on the other side of the spectrum, we have decisions. So when we use this phrase on the other side of the spectrum, so I know that a contrast is probably being drawn. I first explained this, now I am going on the other side of the spectrum. We have decisions made based on information. All right, stated earlier, also just a reiteration. These decisions are rational. It is based on facts and figures. So now it's just explaining what rational is, right? Basically, how they are rational. So this part is just detail. It is based on facts and figures, which unfortunately also means that it can be quite slow. Now, this is important. Slow and rational. Okay. The decision maker would frequently use reports, analyses, and indicators to form her conclusion. So, what is the conclusion based on? The conclusion is based on reports, analysis, indicators, unlike there where it was based on senses and experience. This methodology results in accurate, quantifiable decisions, meaning that a person can clearly explain the rationale behind it. Now, the way in which I have read it and underlined some parts, you have realized by now that here we are talking about these two factors and comparing and contrasting them. It's a compare contrast paragraph. So, these are the key ideas, the parts that I've underlined and encircled. Let's see which of the options captures these the most accurately. Yes, read the options and tell me what the answer should be. I hope all of you are here listening to me, are alert. Come on, you just have to guess right now. It's okay. This is our first question. Okay, Vishal says 3. Others. Shivam says 3 again. Ravi says 3. All right. Anush says 4. What about others? Radha, what do you say? Abhishek, Sweetie, Mayuri. Okay. Yash says 3. Mayuri says 3. All right. So I'm getting a lot of 3s here. Right. Let's have a look. So option 1 could be easily eliminated because see, any summary here has to talk about both the factors. Whereas here we are just talking about intuition and not about information, isn't it? So first is eliminated. 2. We make decisions based on intuition or information on the basis of the time available. So yes, we do talk about the speed of these decisions, that okay, the decisions made through intuition are usually fast, whereas those made through information are usually slow. Okay, so this is one of the key points. One of the key points that we cover about each of these decisions. The other is difficulty in explaining the reasoning behind it, whereas the ease of explaining the reasoning, rationale behind it, isn't it? And in fact, there is a third key point that here the conclusion is based on experience and senses, whereas here the conclusion is based on reports, analysis, and indicators. So this is incomplete and slightly distorted also. Slightly distorted also. We, I mean, we are just saying that okay, these decisions are fast, these decisions are slow. It doesn't say that we make decisions based on intuition and information on the basis of time available. You see this, there's a difference in the two things. Maybe I have less time available, but the nature of decision that I want to make is really big. So I cannot just rely on my intuition. I'll still have to use my information. Maybe I use just limited information, but I still use information. So the point being here is that it can be rejected easily because it is incomplete. सबसे easy तरीका इसको reject करने का. ठीक है? Now, between 3 and 4. 3 says it is better to make decisions based on information. Now see, it is better to make decisions based on information. Has the author given such an opinion that one is better than the other? One is superior to the other? Has the author given any such opinion? No, the author is just comparing and contrasting the two. The author does not offer any opinion in the end. Right? The author does not say that one is better than the other. The author says one is fast, one is slow. Pros and cons comparison हो रहा है, कोई conclusion drawn नहीं है towards the end. So this option is in the nature of a conclusion when no such conclusion has actually been drawn in my paragraph. So I cannot draw one on my own. This is a summary question. Right? The author never intended to say that one is better than the other. So this is not the gist of this paragraph. Eliminated. 4 is our answer. Very good. One student, I think, said 4. Yes, Anush said 4. Good. Decisions based on intuition and information result in differential speed. Okay, so the differential speed means that they have a different speed. Intuition decisions, they are fast, okay, whereas information based decisions are slow. And ability to provide a rationale. Again, there is a difference in the ability to provide a rationale, no? Because here you will probably not be able to provide it, there will be difficulty, whereas here there will be ease in actually providing the rationale. So you see, it is covering 2 out of my 3 main points. Okay, there were 3 key points regarding the decisions based on intuition and 3 key points regarding the decisions based on information. It is covering 2 out of those 3 key points, is not going beyond the paragraph, and yes, is capturing the gist of the paragraph. So 4 is my answer. Okay, I hope this is clear to everybody. All right then. Let's move to another question. Now we know how to read a paragraph. So read this paragraph. I want you to take your time. There is no hurry. We are trying to build our accuracy today. So take your time. Look at each and every sentence. Okay, so divide it into sentences. Look at each and every sentence and see what is its role in the paragraph. Does it present a key idea, an important idea, or is it simply some detail that has been given to me? Okay, then how does the paragraph tie up? Basically, you have to understand the whole also, no? What is the point that is being made through these sentences by weaving together these sentences? This is what I want you to see. Okay, so we have 4 sentences here. Read them, understand this paragraph, then we will eliminate. Yes. Done. Okay, I've got one response also. Others, yes. Read each and every word of the option carefully. Option 1 does not match the tone of my paragraph. Does my paragraph say that the resulting signal is confusing and integration of the two is imperfect? This is negative. This is also negative. It does not match the tone of my paragraph. Yes, my paragraph is calling it a unified integrated percept, not a confusing and an imperfect thing. So, apart from understanding the theme of the paragraph, the understanding the tone of the paragraph also helps. One is eliminated. Right? Okay, so I've got a number of 4s here. Yes, absolutely correct. 4 is the answer. Visual speech mismatched with auditory speech. So here there was a mismatch, no? The visual speech was, the visual speech was ga ga ga, right? And the auditory speech was ba ba ba. But when we matched the two, when we combined the two, it actually resulted in another speech, da da da, right? So visual speech mismatched with auditory speech can result in the perception of an entirely different message. Yeah. So the viewer now didn't hear, the person who was looking and hearing it didn't hear ba 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 ga ga ga. Instead, heard a totally different da da da. Right? Of an entirely different message. This illusion is known as the McGurk effect. Right? So 4 is my answer. Now, let's look at the other options, 2 and 3. When the quality of the auditory information is poor, did we say that the quality of the auditory information here was poor? Baba Ba was a poor audio speech. No. So this is additional information, not stated in my paragraph. So tone mismatch, additional information. Now, 3. The McGurk effect, which is a demonstration of multisensory integration, has been replicated many times. So yes, this is a key point that is mentioned in the paragraph, that yes, it has sparked an abundance of research, right? It has been replicated many times. This is stated. But is this the essence of this paragraph? The replication aspect of it. We first define what it is, that okay, this illusion, and then we say, then we towards the end say that okay, this has actually been replicated many times. So while this is one of the key points, this is not the essence. The essence is still 4. This will be an incomplete option. Okay, so 3 is eliminated. Good. All of you said 4. Very good. So you're getting a hang of this. Now, some strategy tips for you. First thing, read the para with a focus on the role of each sentence, as we just did. Focus on the nouns and verbs. Why am I saying this? Usually the nouns tell you what is being talked about. The verbs tell you what is happening in that sentence. They talk about the action. So if you focus on the nouns and the verbs, let's do this for this question. Let me just quickly demonstrate it. So here, a powerful multisensory illusion is the noun. Yes, occurring with audio visual speech. So when you focus on the nouns and the verbs, for instance, here, the acoustic speech signal was well recognized alone. Okay, this is an adjective. It was heard as another consonant after dubbing with incongruent visual speech. So broadly, when you focus on the nouns and the verbs, you get an idea of what is happening in this sentence. Okay, what is being talked about and what is happening in this sentence. Remember that details, dates, examples, if there are a lot of them, they need not be included because this is a summary, right? So it will not include all the examples, all the dates, all the details. Spot the differences among options. When you have to really close options, when that happens, you should spot the differences among them to navigate them. Because it is in the difference of 1 to 2 words only that you'll find that, okay, this is wrong, whereas this is right. Okay. Lastly, as I said, eliminate, eliminate, eliminate. Okay. So, okay. See, this session, this is a general session. This is not just confined to CMAT, okay? So, yes, this question was relatively difficult when we look at the CMAT level, okay? In CMAT, we had a political passage last year which talked about how in the times of peace, nobody's really bothered about who is leading, which government is in place, whereas when there is some disturbance, people start questioning the government. This sort of a paragraph was there. So looking at that level, yes, this is definitely higher. Okay. So this is a more general session. It is going to help you in your, if let's say somebody is preparing for CAT 2022, for your ZAT exam, sometimes in IIFT also such questions have been asked. So it's a more general session today. Okay. For MAH CET and CMAT also, yes, they do ask para-summary questions. And in MAH CET, sometimes I've seen a good level of para-summary questions. Okay. Yes, lastly, I told you this earlier itself that mark the closest answer. So this is actually a byproduct of elimination only. Your answer may not be the ideal answer, but it will definitely be the most appropriate given all the choices that you have, right? So remember this when it comes to attempting para-summary questions. Now, if you've liked the session so far, we still have some questions to go, then please go and press the like button. And yes, do share this with your friends. And in case any queries are left or you want something in addition, something else to happen, then you can always comment in the comment section, right? Okay, let's have a look at this question now. So sometimes what happens is that let's say I am from a commerce background and I get something from science and technology. So then what happens? I might not be very comfortable at home at when reading such a paragraph. At that point, my focus should be just to grasp the gist, understand what is the broad point that has been made here, forget the details. Okay, don't worry about the details. नहीं समझ में आ रहा, बहुत technical words लग रहे हैं, forget the details. There is a larger point that is being made here, just try to grasp that. Okay, so let's see this. Brown et al. So this et al. Is used when I want to say there were other authors also. Brown and other authors wrote this paper in 2001 where they suggest that metabolic theory may provide a conceptual foundation for much of ecology. Okay, so metabolic theory is a theory that is used in ecology, the study of environment, and I am saying that it may provide a conceptual foundation for much of ecology. It's that important. Just as genetic theory provides a foundation for much of evolutionary biology. So, whenever I encounter such information with which I'm uncomfortable, I unpackage it. So, I will, in my mind, I'll think, okay, metabolic theory, it provides a conceptual foundation for ecology, just like genetic theory provides a conceptual foundation for biology. So this starts happening in my mind. One of the successes of genetic theory is, now I am talking about the genetic theory, elaborating this. One of the successes of genetic theory is the diversity of theoretical approaches and models that have been developed and applied. So in this theory, we have got a number of approaches, a number of models to explain this theory. And that is one of its successes, the diversity of theoretical approaches and models. A web of science search on genetic theory plus evolution identifies. So it says that if you go for a search, no, web of science might be some platform. अगर आप उस पे search करोगे, you combine these three keywords, you will get, it identifies more than 12,000 publications between 2005 and 2012. So on this area, genetic theory, evolution, 12,000 papers have been published between 2005 and 12. Considering only the 10 most cited papers. Now see this part, no, this part is just detail. Because it is just explaining how there have been a number of theoretical approaches and models. So I read this, I tried to grasp it, but then I realized, अच्छा ये तो ये ही explain कर रहा है, ये बस यही बता रहा है that there have been a number of theoretical approaches. So detail. Considering only the 10 most cited papers within this 12,000 publication set, genetic theory can be seen to focus on genome dynamics, phylogenetic inference, game theory, and the regulation of gene expression. Okay, so suddenly I get intimidated. My God, what is phylogenetic inference? What is genome dynamics? Again, what I see, what I infer is that genetic theory focuses on a number of areas. Fine. Whatever that areas are, forget it. It focuses on a number of areas. There is no one fundamental genetic equation. So basically, the theory is focused on many areas. There is no one equation, but rather a wide array of genetic models. So, अभी तक हम क्या कर रहे हैं? Throughout this, from the moment I have started reading this, no, I am just elaborating this fact that one of the successes of genetic theory is the diversity of theoretical approaches and models that have been developed and applied. ये सारा डिटेल है और अगर मुझे ये बहुत अच्छी तरह से नहीं भी समझ आ रहा ना, then it's fine. Okay, so but rather a wide array of genetic models ranging from simple to complex with differing inputs and outputs and divergent areas of application. आ गए वापस वहीं पर, right? Divergent areas of application, loosely connected to each other through the shared conceptual foundation. So loosely, all these diverse areas, they are connected to each other through the shared conceptual foundation. What is that foundation? This genetic theory of heritable variation. So if you see, the part that is important in this paragraph is this part, the first and the second sentence. Okay, and this part that, okay, whatever diversity is there, it is connected, it is loosely connected, just this part. The first part and the last part, the middle part was just explanation details. So if I did not understand genome dynamics, phylogenetic inference, does not make a difference. Okay. So now I have a couple of questions here before I proceed. How much time does it require to go through the op-ed section of the Hindu? The op-ed section of the Hindu has relatively longer articles, right? So it depends on your reading speed, how much time you will take. So if let's say there are 3 articles, sometimes there are as little as 3 articles because these are long articles. So if there are 3 articles and each of them is 1,000 words, let's say, so then it depends on your reading speed. So if your reading speed is, let's say, 250 words per minute, you will complete one article in 4 minutes and the entire page in 12 minutes, right? So 10 to 12 minutes, depending on your reading speed, that should be the time that you can take in the op-ed. However, this is when you understand things smoothly. Sometimes the topics are such that you don't understand them very smoothly. You pause at some words and you try to make sense of them. Then of course it can take more time if comprehension is the focus, right? So what you can do is you can see, okay, this article, it comes from a familiar area. Let me read this speedily. This I'll be able to read speedily. This article, this is something new. Okay, this article is something new. So let me read this with the aim to understand more and more. Whatever words I don't understand, later on, after reading the article, I will Google them. So that can be your approach, and that way, I think 15 minutes mein, you will probably be able to read most of the paper, most of the op-ed paper. Okay. Yes, Chintan, we are going to solve more such questions, right? Now, coming to the 4 options here. ठीक है, अब हमने जो main चीज पढ़ी वो थी that metabolic theory may provide a conceptual foundation for much of ecology, just as genetic theory provides a foundation for much of evolutionary biology. And then we read that one of the successes of the genetic theory is the diversity of theoretical approaches and models that have been developed and applied, which are loosely connected to each other. So keeping this in mind, tell me what should be the answer. Now the answer should be clear to you. Okay, so 3 of you have answered. What about others? Vishal, Rahul, Radha, all 3 say 2. Do we agree? Do others agree? We do. 2 is the answer. Absolutely correct. Okay. So, see, these questions are not difficult. Even when your paragraphs appear to be dense, these are not difficult questions. What is required is simply the unpackaging of it. Simply having this view that I have to understand the broad thing, right? So, absolutely correct. Let's reject the others quickly. This says it must have the same in the field of ecology. Must to nahi bola. It just says that it may, right? It may provide. Must is not there, so this becomes extreme. Then this just focuses on genetic theory, not on metabolic theory. Whereas in the very first sentence, I am drawing a comparison here. 3 is eliminated. Then, but metabolic theory need not evolve in a similar manner in the field of ecology. The difference is the focus in this paragraph is not on the difference between the two. I am drawing a comparison to show a similarity that they may both provide. It may provide a conceptual foundation in the similar manner that genetic theory has already provided. Right? So, eliminated. Good. Those who have eliminated, 2 is our answer. Absolutely correct. Okay. So now I'm giving you one question. You will do this on your own completely, right? Not a very difficult question. Talks about developing countries. Okay, the language is pretty easy, not dense at all. So let's see who answers the most quickly and accurately. This is a CAT previous year question. Let's see what you say. Okay, I've got one response. Anush says 4, Pavan says 3. Rahul says 3. All right. Hina says 4. So there's a tie. I want someone to break this tie. Come on, quickly. Okay. So 4 is emerging as the winner. Anybody who wants to support 3? Wants to back 3? Come on. Okay, I've got an all new response in 2. All right. So let's see. Developing countries are becoming hotbeds of business innovation in much the same way as Japan did from the 1950s onwards. Okay. So the focus is on developing countries. They are reinventing systems of production and distribution and experimenting with entirely new business models. Now, a question has been asked. So, this is always important when the author asks some question. So, probably there he or she is going to answer it, or probably it's an important area. That is why a question has been put on it, right? So, always read this carefully. Why are countries that were recently associated with cheap hands now becoming leaders in innovation? An answer has been given. Driven by a mixture of ambition and fear, they are relentlessly climbing up the value chain. Emerging market champions have not only proved highly competitive in their own backyards, they are also going global themselves. Right? So, first option says they are being forced. No, they're not at all being forced. Okay, to invent new business models which challenge the old business models so that they can remain competitive domestically. False. The focus here is that they have not only proved highly competitive in their own backyards, in their domestic markets, they are also going global themselves. So the focus is on this part rather than this. Eliminated. Two, innovations in production and distribution are helping emerging economies competing with countries to which they once supplied cheap labor. Okay. So innovation in production and distribution. All right. Then experimenting with entirely new business models. Isn't that also stated? They are reinventing systems of production and distribution and experimenting with entirely new business models. That is also there. Plus, this is capturing a part of the paragraph. This is capturing a part of the paragraph because the idea is that they are not just competing with those countries, they have moved up the value chain, they are climbing up the value chain relentlessly. Okay, they are going global, they are proving to be competitive in their own markets. So this part is important. Question answer, remember. So this is incomplete. Between 3 and 4. 4 says production and distribution models are going through rapid innovations worldwide. Are they going through rapid innovations worldwide? Or am I just talking about the developing countries here? They are reinventing systems of production and distribution. So, right at this moment, this becomes incorrect. 3 is my answer. Competition, yes, they are highly competitive. See, fear, what is the fear? That the competitor will actually take our market share. So, ambition, fear, competition. Competition has driven emerging economies, once suppliers of cheap labors, to become innovators of business models that have enabled them to move up the value chain and go global. See, it is covering so many points. It had to be the clear answer. Moving up the value chain, going global, becoming innovators, once suppliers of cheap labor, competition. So many key points covered from this paragraph. So that's why our answer is 3. Good. Suraj, Radha, Pavan, Rahul, you are correct. 3 is the answer. All right. Now, some preparation tips for you. First of all, reading diverse genres helps when it comes to parasummary questions. Particularly, I experienced this with philosophy paragraphs, paragraphs that were philosophical in nature. So, when I started reading more of philosophy, whenever I encountered such paragraphs, even such RC passages, it became easier for me to navigate through them, even to understand them, because I had developed some background knowledge of the issue, of the philosophy. So, read diverse genres, just like it will help you for your RC passages, it will help you here as well. Solve at least, yes, 6 para summary questions per week. See, depending on currently how much time you can devote, right? 3 para summary to 6 para summary questions per week you should solve, right? Because it's not just about reading, no, you have to solve in the exam. So we want to reach there where we are comfortable with eliminating and solving para-summary questions. Then they are similar to the main idea question of an RC passage. I've already told you that. Learn to operate within the scope of the options, within the boundaries of the options. There are going to be very tempting options that will go slightly beyond my paragraph. But anything that goes beyond my paragraph cannot be a para-summary answer. Right? So learn this. This happens through practice. Okay? All right. Suraj, this is not an inference question. What we are doing, this is not an inference question. Okay, this is a separate question type wherein you are trying to capture the central idea or the essence or the summary of the paragraph. You can see this question type in case, let's say, you are preparing for CMAT. Then this question type was asked last year, I think in slot 2. You will find this. In case you're preparing for CAT, these questions are asked every year. Okay, so last year itself in your slots, 3 questions in each slot were asked. Okay, now let's have a look at this one, the last question for the day, right? Again, it's not a very difficult question, just that wherever you feel that some difficult word has been used, just unpackage it. Otherwise, it just talks about the rural urban scene, so kuch bhi difficult nahi hai as such. Read, eliminate, and tell me the answer. Yes. The last option felt like beyond. Okay. Uh, okay, Suraj, we'll go back to this. Right now, solve this. Once we're done with this, I'll go back to that question. Don't worry. Thank you, Vishal. Okay, I've got one response. Rahul has answered the fastest. Hmm. Others. Pavan says 1. Radha says 4. What do the others say? Surat says 1. 1. Vishal says 1. Okay. Others? I want some more responses, then I'll discuss. Come on. Okay. Okay. So, the rural urban continuum. What is a continuum? Basically, a sort of a spectrum, right? That is a continuum. Like we say, space time continuum. So, rural urban continuum means that, okay, they are not two separate things, rather, they just differ in varying degrees. That's what I mean to say. They differ from each other depending on the degree. So, for instance, if this is, let's say, rural, this could be more rural, this could be less rural. If this is urban, right? So, this is again, if something lies here, it is partly rural, partly urban. That's the idea. Now, the rural urban continuum and the heterogeneity of urban settings. So the fact that rural and urban are not two very different things, and in the urban settings also there is a lot of heterogeneity. That means that the people are not of the same type in urban areas, right? And even let's say the houses are not of the same type. So the rural urban continuum and the heterogeneity of urban settings pose an obvious challenge to identifying urban areas. How do I say that this is an urban area when there is so much diversity here? There are both pakka houses also and there are kacha houses also, right? So they pose an obvious challenge to identifying urban areas and measuring urbanization rates in a consistent way within and across countries. An objective methodology for distinguishing, so we do have objective methodologies for distinguishing between urban and rural areas, that is based on one or two parameters, one or two metrics with fixed thresholds, may not adequately capture the wide diversity of places. So if I just go for this objective methodology, I just look at one or two parameters, let's say the nature of houses, kacha or pakka, or let's say if I go by the nature of work that is performed by households, whether they are doing agriculture or they are engaged in jobs. So these may not adequately capture the wide diversity of places, because there might be a farmer who has a really big house, lives in a pakka house, has an expensive SUV also, right? So what will you say that he lives in an urban area or a rural area? Vice versa, there can be somebody who's engaged in a job, but his income may be very meager. His house may be a kacha house. So the point is that based on just these one or two metrics, you may not be able to adequately capture the wide diversity of places. A richer combination of criteria. So we need a richer combination of criteria that would better describe the multifaceted nature of what a city's function, what a city does, and its environment, its surroundings. But the joint interpretation of these criteria, so fine, we can come up with a richer combination of criteria, but then a joint interpretation of these criteria. If let's say I combine the two, I include more criteria also, then their joint interpretation may require an element of human judgment. That is what this paragraph was about. Now, option 1. Distinguishing between urban and rural areas might call for some judgment on the objective methodology, okay, being used to define a city's functions. Am I not talking about its environment also? Function and its environment, remember? So, one is a very close option. It is a very likely candidate. Let's keep it in the fold. Let's read others. Second, the difficulty of accurately identifying urban areas means that we need to create a rich combination of criteria that can be applied to all urban areas. The all makes it a little extreme, okay, but that is not the primary reason why I am rejecting it. The primary reason why I am rejecting it is it doesn't talk about the element of human judgment. Because an important key idea that the author has stated is that fine, we need to have a richer combination of criteria, but its joint interpretation may bring in an element of human judgment. Then it will no longer be that objective. इतना फिर factual objective नहीं रहेगा. So that's an important point there, which it is not covering. Eliminated. 3. Current methodologies used to define urban and rural areas are no longer relevant to our being able to study trends in urbanization. First of all, it doesn't talk about the richer combination of criteria, element of human judgment. Second, saying no longer relevant is extreme. Incomplete and extreme, rejected. Now, 4, which is something that one or two of you have mentioned also. With the diversity of urban landscapes, both actually, yes, they are very close options, 1 and 4. I agree with you. With the diversity of urban landscapes. So, yes, we do focus on the fact that they are so diverse. Yes. There is heterogeneity in the urban settings, right? That means that they are very diverse. Measurable criteria for defining urban areas may need to be supplemented with human judgment. So, what all points is 4 covering? We did talk about heterogeneity and continuum. So, diversity of urban landscapes is the same thing, stated in different words. Then we did talk about objective methodology, so measurable criteria. And we talked about having a richer combination which will bring in an element of human judgment. So that is also being covered. Okay, so between 1 and 4, which is the one that I should choose? 1 or 4, which is more comprehensive in your opinion? Why do I need this element of human judgment? इसकी क्या जरूरत पड़ गई? Because of the heterogeneity that is there in the urban settings. So first we need to define the problem also. No, ये problem है और इसका ये solution है. Solution implement करने में ये आ जाएगा. This is one of the things that will come in with the solution. So 4 is the most comprehensive here. All right. Does it make sense? This was a difficult question. That's why I kept it for the end. Difficult not in the sense of language. The language was easy to understand. Difficult in the sense of options. Okay. So I hope these questions that we've done today, they are clear to you and they will help you in attempting para summary questions. Do keep in mind whatever I have told you. So yes, just summarize what I have told you. We discussed what a summary is. Okay. That how to distinguish between a summary and a conclusion. We talked about the traps that an examiner can lay for you, how you should approach the question, some strategy tips, and how you can prepare for this, right? Apart from that, we did some questions. Okay. There was one problem in the previous question. One student said, no, that the previous question seemed the last option. Yes, the last option here went beyond the paragraph. Absolutely, it went beyond. इसने broader कर दिया था इसको. So that is why we eliminated 4. You are right there. Okay. All right then. This is it from my side. And if you like the session, please do press the like button. We will keep on coming with more such sessions as part of this series. We will discuss how to speedily read passages. We will discuss some tricky passages. We'll also cover areas like sequence para-jumbles where you do not have any options. So that will all happen in the subsequent sessions. Okay, I'll see you on subsequent Fridays and we will cover all these areas. All right. Okay then, see you next time. And yes, do keep attending the last lab to CMAT. So today I'll see you at 7 p.m. Okay, and we will talk about, I think today we'll talk about grammar. Okay, so whatever we are going to talk about, whatever questions I have included, okay, I usually try to cover a diversity of questions, those that are relatively tricky in nature. That's always my endeavor. So I'll see you at 7 p.m. We'll cover some good number of questions and we'll learn some concepts through them, right? And yes, you know about this. You also know about this. Okay, and do join our Telegram group in case you have any queries later on. Okay, welcome. Bye. See you. 7 p.m. over YouTube. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, all of you. Bye.